We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS.
ADR Networks presenta.
This is Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isa Crouch.
And this is...
Foreign Show!
On that foreign show.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the show, Friday 3 p.m. That Foreign Show. I'm Isaac Rakesh.
I'm Leslie Angel, and we are here on
Activating.
ADR Networks, activating your senses.
Yep.
All right. I want to just do a quick share of the Facebook link on our Facebook page, That Foreign Shows. Facebook.com/That Foreign Show. So just give me a
Yes.
minute. Well, Isaac will tell you what we're sharing for That Insider.
All right, today's That Insider, we have an Instagram page that we're going to put up of Carrick Amadeus. All right, he is our partner in a project that we're doing here, and he is an amazing photographer and visual artist. All right, so Arthur, if you can put up the page so that we can check it out.
Yeah, so Carrick is my brother, and he is a photographer, visual artist, etc. So basically, we are putting up his services because he's a one-stop shop for everything. Like if you need photos, if you need videos, if you need posters done and all that, like
Yes.
check Carrick out because like he's very good. And drop him a DM and tell him what you need and negotiate with him for like the quotations and stuff. So and you basically be getting a photographer that is well-traveled. He's from Singapore, international photographer basically.
Yes,
And
and if you
so
look at the
you are going to
page-
get like a really modern, worldly kind of aesthetic, basically.
If you look at the page, you see that he's been involved in numerous projects, not just ours, but with a lot of other people as well. And these projects include music projects. He's done artwork for album covers. He's done model photography. He's done editorial style type photography.
Yeah,
And,
food. He covers
food as
restaurants.
well, yeah.
Really, really nice and like lovely cat pictures. Yeah,
cat
but I mean,
pictures.
that was just a personal preference.
Yes, over there, if you take a look, you see that the aesthetic covers. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and this is just
And that's it right there.
And this is just his Instagram. His website also has like a full-fledged portfolio stuff. Like right now here, you don't see his like food and all that. You see a lot of portraits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are some of the editorial type shots.
Yeah. So
And yeah, so when he lists himself as a visual artist, right?
yeah, that's where like the whole thing, photographer, video, like right now what we are doing with Illicit, an esports collective. Carrie's doing like all the like visual artwork for it, collaborating with the owner of Illicit as well, and also we are shooting videos and like basically Carrie's doing all the visual work for it. So
Let me go get the poster.
okay, Isaac wants to show you the poster for Illicit. This is something that Carrie did. I don't know if we can put it in perspective. Okay.
All right, so I hope you can see this. This is one of his designs.
Oh yeah, it's perfectly.
And it's part of a campaign, part of a project that we are doing together. Illuminary is doing together with Illicit, as Celestine mentioned.
Yeah,
And
so
big shout
Illuminary is
out.
our project. Mhm.
Yep.
And Own Your City. Own Your City
Look at that.
is one of the songs that we are doing. It's the name of one of the songs that we are doing.
So if you're looking for an artist to bring your vision to light, right? You can get in Carrick's DMs and tell him what you need, and he'll bring that to life for you, to life and to light, whatever you have in mind. Like with this Own Your City project, we were kind of going for, a kind of obviously an urban aesthetic, but we wanted something special. We wanted something that kind of feels a bit, like Asian as well, but not too Asian, and
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the owner of Illicit, he's like, I mean, at his home, which is now what we call the headquarters of Illicit, his design style for like the deco and everything, it's pretty much like us, it's like it's Asian mixed modern, very
Yes.
also sporty and as well hip hop. So like we are really, really aligned.
we'll do a full feature on Illicit. But if you guys want to go check them out, you can go check them out as well. They are actually a professional esports gaming team, right?
Maybe we will do like a proper share next week on Illicit. So right now, what we're talking about is Carrick, and
Yes.
especially for his photography. If you need a photographer, like I see nowadays, a lot of people want, just message Carrick on Instagram, and like yeah, he can show you more photos as well if you want.
Yes. So big shout out to Carrick, and to you guys. If you want that, go contact him.
Okay, so
All right.
for our next segment, which is our talk show. But so we have a new friend. We haven't met him yet. This is going to be
Yes.
the first time, like
Mhm.
online. And his name is Nathanael. He's from Singapore, and he came here during COVID, during the lockdown. So, but it was like the later. The later stage, so it was around 2022. So this was just last year.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
saying he actually chose to come here during COVID because he's looking for somewhere to go, right? Like he
Yeah.
wanted to exit his homeland, SG Singapore, wanted to go somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
yeah. So Mexico, the interesting part is like I want to ask him like what was attractive about Mexico. I know he already told me that it was open. That's right. Oh, okay. I think I'll guess this on.
All right.
So let's get him so we can ask.
Hello.
Yo.
Hi,
Hey,
Nathanael.
hi. Nice
Hey
to
Hold on,
see
let me
you.
welcome to
turn
the
off the
show. Nice to see you, brother. Nice to see you.
Good
First
to
things
see
first, you hear us? You hear us good?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, man.
Now I hear you.
Welcome
Well,
to the show, brother.
Hey,
So you're
thanks very
like
much for having me.
you're like our third Singaporean guest.
Yep.
Ritik being one of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
All right. Yeah, shout out to Ritik.
Okay.
Shout out to
So
Ritik for
basically, we definitely want to start off with your background. Like you're from Singapore, you do music, and also he works for like a audiovisual company, right?
yeah, like a production company. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and he
Yeah.
does podcasts as well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
No, no,
yeah,
no,
I
no.
do.
Sorry, you do editing
bunch
for
of
the
stuff.
I do.
podcast, right?
I do the editing bit for podcasts. Yeah, so I work with some like studios in Singapore, and they send me stuff, and I edit it for them and send it back. Yeah. So
Well, okay. So there's a lot we can get into. Why don't we just jump right in and
sure.
and get into like what made you decide to come to Mexico, and especially during that time, during that COVID period. You know?
I think there's there's a lot of background to that. I think I went to study in Australia. I think it started with that first. And when I was studying in Australia, this was like 2019. It was like right before
Mm.
COVID happened, because I think COVID happened at the beginning of like 2020. And
Yeah.
then yeah, so I made a lot of friends there, and some of them were Mexicans. And I think when COVID hit in 2020, I went back home because I think I was just like, I think my parents are getting very anxious, and it's like, what's going to happen? It's like, I think we want you here with us instead of being somewhere where if anything happens, we can't like help you, we can't intervene, blah blah blah. So I was like, yeah, you know what, like, I mean, sure, I'll do it. So I went home, and I think I got very like stuck in
Claustrophobic.
yeah, I mean, when I went home as well, like initially there was that 2 weeks, like in Singapore they had like that quarantine where you had to stay home for like 2 weeks when you came from a when you come from a different country. So I was
Right.
like, yeah, I was like stuck for like 2 weeks in my room, and I couldn't like go out and do stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I was keeping contact with a lot of my friends and my Mexican friends as well. And so I remember on a call one day, my friend, she was like talking about, and I think she just jokingly said, hey, like since you want to leave Singapore so badly, why don't you just go to Mexico, like come to Mexico. She's actually not from here, and she used to live in Monclova, which is about 2 hours north of Monterrey. And
Right.
she was moving here with her then at that time boyfriend and her best friend as well, who we were all together in Australia. So I knew all of them as well. And so they were all moving to Mexico City. And I was like,
Oh,
you know what? Like, yeah, I think I just kind of like laughed it off initially. And then
Uh-huh.
after I put that on the phone, I was like, yeah, you know what? Why not? Like this is a very, very
sounds like a
viable
plan.
option. Yeah, could be quite viable, So I did all the research and everything, like what it's like to live there. Asked a lot of questions to all three of them, and yeah, and I think that I decided in like 2021, in the middle of 2021, and then I moved in 2022, the beginning of 2022. So I gave myself like a runway of 6 months to like kind of prepare and like, yeah. So that's how I ended up here. Yeah.
Well, obviously you like it here, right? Because you're still here
Yeah, I do.
right
I
now.
do very much. Yeah. Yeah. It's been like a year and 7 months now, coming to 8, I think. Yeah. So it's been a minute, but really enjoying it so far as well. Yeah. Because I think when I was in Singapore as well, like during that time frame, it was very difficult because like I think Singapore was, and along with like I think Australia as well, they were like some of the countries that were being known to like be very strict about their COVID
Right.
policies and rules. And yeah, I
Yes,
think
if memory serves me, during that period, they in Singapore and also some of these other countries, they actually kind of cut like music, right? They were trying to discourage people from going out and stuff, right?
yeah,
So that, right? I mean, things
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you can add up and yeah, well, make things kind of
Yeah,
intense and
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
because I remember they like closed all the clubs in Singapore as well, so like people couldn't like go out on the weekends and like night times and things like that as well. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and there was a lot of like because I work for that company, there was a lot of like a production company. There's a lot of like shows that were being like stopped. We did some like overseas lighting shows and stuff like that for like some like Taiwanese artists and stuff like that. So it all got shut down as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so we all had to like redirect, I think, the company's focus into like doing installation jobs and like looking at different areas where we can like
Interesting.
employ our expertise as well. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, this is a little bit out of point, but I'm
Yep.
interested in the company that you're working for. Like, so
Yeah.
you guys actually support overseas artists. Like, I
Yep.
mean, so they outsource you from their country. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah, that's true. I think my boss, he has a very good relationship with like certain artists, Taiwanese artists, Chinese
cool.
artists, and we recently, even like end of last year, we did an installation job with like audiovisual effects in a resort in the Maldives as well. So that was one like a
Wow.
really rare, yeah, in Malaysia as well. So yeah, we do have a lot of like these little jobs, and I think recently in the past, like last year, we've seen it like slowly come back into play. You know, like all these overseas
Yeah.
travels. Yeah,
Yeah, along with a whole bunch of other stuff also. Like we were just talking about how the kind of a clubbing scene here in Mexico post COVID is kind of just things are just popping off, you know. But
yeah.
it's Nathaniel, like how's your Spanish
Oh, my Spanish
before?
is pretty ass. It's pretty bad. No,
I
but
mean,
like I think as, I don't know about you guys as well, but like I had no like prior knowledge to the language at all. Like it's not like, you know,
same, yeah.
Americans in America, they kind of like learn it in school and stuff.
Yeah,
For us, I had no like idea of it, and yeah, I
yeah,
think
man,
it's
no idea
yeah,
exactly.
no
Yeah, basically
idea.
it's like zero, like anything, right, about Spanish. I remember like back when we were in the, I mean, in Singapore, and then like my friend was telling me this joke because you know we're all musicians, and he was playing bass with like two, like one Cuban dude and another guy also Latino.
Hmm.
And then they were like talking to each other and they were saying C, you know, like yes, yes. And then he thought they were saying C. And then he was like, I thought we were playing in C. And he was like, he was telling me about it and it was so funny.
Yeah. So I had
So
no
I,
like prior knowledge as
uh,
well. Like okay, now my Spanish is like I'd say like restaurant level. Like I can like
Okay. In
I
order
can
for
restaurant level.
order food,
go
I
to the
can get around,
toilet.
I can ask
Yeah, yeah.
questions, I can understand a decent amount as well. But I think the area that I struggle with a lot is like crafting sentences in the like correct grammatical way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Because
Absolutely, I get
yeah,
it.
because I think English is very different in terms of where we put the
exactly, right?
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
actually for us also, like trying to figure out like when we first heard it, or like my first impression was like, why are they starting the sentences like that? You know, it felt confusing, but then now now obviously not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, like, you know, English and Mandarin is like the same kind of grammatical structure, right? How the
yeah,
sentence is formed. And then, like, Spanish, all the nouns are in front. So,
Yeah.
like,
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think with Mandarin as well, it's just like you can switch it up and it still makes sense, like in a sentence structure. Like it doesn't really like change too much. So yeah, I think it's very
yeah.
different. But I'm in the process of like learning. I think one of the things that I want to get like out of this whole experience of living here for who knows how long. I wanna get like good at Spanish and like have a conversation. I think that's yeah, you know, to me it's
One of the
important.
goals.
Yeah, one of
Yeah,
the
man,
Yeah.
goals.
because
Yeah.
it's kind of like gateway to Italian and French also
Exactly,
eventually,
yeah.
right?
And a
So
little bit
yeah,
of
so it's
Portuguese
beautiful.
as well. Like
Yeah.
I mean, when I was living in Australia, like my friends, some of them were Brazilian, some of them were Mexican, and some of them Colombian, and all that, and they can like kind of like understand each other because like the
Mm.
some of the words are just similar, but like kind of changed at the end. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So let
definitely
me
a
ask you
gateway.
this, Nathaniel, when you first came here, right? I mean, apart from the language and stuff, what
Yeah.
were some of the challenges, um that you faced,
Mm.
and like things like I mean, obviously we're talking about when we talk about developing countries and developed countries and all that kind of stuff, there are differences obviously, but
Mm.
there's something about Mexico that kind of I mean for us when I hearing you speak earlier, the way you were planning it, you said, okay, I'm going to give myself this amount of time. There's a group of us going to Mexico City, so it's going to be safe. It's going to be, you have this kind of like things that you think are gonna Mexico kind of just slaps your plans.
Yeah.
It kind of thing. Do you have the same
So
experience?
true.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like
Okay, so
I,
tell us
I,
about that, bro.
I think even with the language as well, I spent the 6 months like in preparation for Mexico, like doing Duolingo and like learning the language. You come here, you don't understand like anything they say. Like just like they speak really fast, they like clump their words together. Like you expect one word, but then because it's clumped with another word, it sounds like a whole new word. And it's just like I can't catch what's going on. So it was similar to that as well in terms of like I actually quit my job to move here. I had no plan in terms of like jobs. Like one of the things is like I was gonna like take the first 6 months to like find a job. That was my timeline. Enjoy a little bit for a few months and then look for a job. I went 9 months without a job, and it was definitely like a slap in the face, like you said. Like it's not something I expected at all. Yeah, and then I rejoined the company that I left in a very different role and capacity. But yeah, it was just like you expect it to be a different way, and it turns out very different as well. I think there was a lot of like worry as well, not just on my part, but on friends and families part as well, because I'm quite young, so like I think like my parents are still like relatively involved in like my life and stuff like that. Like but
that doesn't change, bro.
yeah, that doesn't change,
Yeah,
especially for us
that doesn't
Asians. I
change,
think like for Asians it doesn't really change,
Shout out to mom and dad.
It's very cool that you're very young and then you still feel the like the confidence to try new things and throw yourself in situations.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
it helps you to grow very fast.
Yeah, I think as well. Like I think I realized that like a sense of adventure had been lost when I was in Singapore, and because I think I don't know if like you guys can relate to this, but I know a lot of people from growing up in Singapore that when they go to like Australia to study or they go to like UK or the US to study, they don't come back the same. They come back wanting to go somewhere else, and it's just like that taste of something else makes every like or makes what you had before feel a little bit mundane. And so like I think when I was in Singapore after like when COVID happened, it made it all feel very like just like going through the motions kind of thing. And I remember one of the stories as well, like when I was in Australia, I used to do a lot of like cliff jumping because some like random like some random bunch of like friends, like we're all young, early 20s, and like they're all like convincing us to do stupid things as kids, and like so we go for cliff jumps and stuff. And like I remember when I went back to Singapore, I was doing like an installation job once with this company, and do you know those like equipment where you can like point a laser and like it tells you the distance of of a certain like measurement. So I remember I was on like this little platform and I was looking down. I was like, "Oh, this is quite high," and I like point the laser down to like see the distance, and it was like 7 meters or something. And I was like, like I used to jump like 16 meters, and now I'm scared of 7 meters. Like I think that like sense of adventure is lost. That like that like little like, like that fear has like re-entered. That fear of like trying something. So like I think that was one of the issues, like going back to the point like why I felt like I kind of needed to move as well. But yeah, I think going back to the issue,
that's a very, very cool point.
Yeah, it's very cool that you address this, like you want to not have this fear building up inside you. It's pretty cool.
I think sorry. No, I think in your like early 20s as well, it's like those are very like formative years in like what you like, how you end up when you're 30 or 30 like 40, and like all these little events kind of like shape you. And so like I think during this like period, I told myself like I think I need to like push myself and like do these things, because I'm not going to do it when I'm 40 and like if I have children or whatever, the family, like I'm not going to push myself to like find that sense of adventure anymore, So Yeah, that was one of
You never know.
one of the things. So.
You never know what.
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe with
That's
the
true.
baby, maybe you carry the baby. No, I'm kidding.
I did a cliff jump to the just carrying the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
there were a
It's
lot.
only 7 meters. Let's go.
It's only 7 meters. Yeah. So like,
But yo, it's so interesting, man. I mean, the points that you mentioned, like there are a few things to touch. Also, like Singapore is so perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna say it like that, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you the comfort level and getting what you want out of life, in the sense of the material comforts or the security to have a family and all that. It's perfect,
Yeah.
Everything you want, you have it there. Food, whatever, people, whatever.
Yeah.
But this thing that you mentioned, sense of adventure.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, even to phrase it, sense of adventure, it's like it doesn't do it justice, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like I guess another way to look at it that we kind of also look at it is as Singaporeans, we have this in our system that we didn't, like, our families and stuff were not from Singapore originally, right? Like your grandfather and
Yeah.
grandfather's grandfather, they're all travelers, you know what I mean? So we all
immigrants.
what are we gonna say? We're all immigrants, right? So we have this in our blood, right? We have this that as Singaporeans, like it's almost like it's our duty to kind of just explore
new territory.
Yeah, it's true.
right? Right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I think as well, like, I think you're talking about like us being very comfortable and very safe in Singapore. It's like that was another thing as well that I didn't like, like I didn't like that. Like I think when I was in Australia, I came across a lot of like people from different cultures, like Scandinavians and like for people from the UK and US and of course Latin America and all sorts of places. And I think one thing that I realized is like in Singapore, it's like maybe it's because of the way that the country has been set up, but like a lot of people my age, like in their mid-20s, are still living with their parents, which is very normal in Singapore, and I think that's fine. But the rest of the world doesn't do that. A lot of people say when they're 18 they move out and stuff. It's just very different cultures, and like that's fine. But I think there is one negative aspect about that is that like a lot of my friends, they don't really know what it's like to like rent a house in Singapore, at least. Like they don't know what it's like to like, have
Be independent.
the independence and like if something goes wrong, like there's no like safety net of your parents being there to like sort out your house shit, like so it's very like it's something that I felt strongly about that I needed to like go and do. I mean, I could have just moved to the other side of the island in Singapore, but like I don't know, I felt like I needed to go further than that,
You decided to move to the other side of the world instead, right?
So there you have it. And like I remember as well, like one of the things that really like kicked this whole entire thought process into motion was I was meeting a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and he was like, I think we were just talking, and like I love folk music, like indie folk music, like that's my like genre. I love very like singer-songwriter acoustic folk things, and he was telling me about Bon Iver, and like Bon Iver, I never really listened to him, but like since then I started to listen to him, and he told me about like the story of his very first album, where he like I think he found out he had a disease, and he found out like he like a contagious disease or something, and he found out that his girlfriend, like he broke up with his girlfriend, and it's like he was an aspiring musician, and their band broke up. So like a lot of things was just like happening, like a lot of like heavy things were happening to him at that time. And I remember he just like went to like a cabin in the woods and like isolated himself for like months and like came up with an album. And I remember I was working in this company like in Singapore at that time, and I was like just working every day, and like I remember I kind of lost that like artistic part of myself because and then when I heard the story, I was like, yeah, it's because of that safety net. It's because of that like comfort around me and all that. That's why like I will never reach a point, like if I stay in Singapore, I will never ever reach a point where it's like I'm that desperate to come up with an artistic expression. And like I think that was that was one of the like hugest like defining moments in me deciding to come here as well, or deciding to go somewhere. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, man. Yeah.
To basically feel like you are doing art in a real way, right? Like to be an authentic artist, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, like back home, you're in all the same boxes, and it's very hard to just push yourself to be creative. Plus, like our environment with the family and friends, it's always like everything outside of Singapore is dangerous.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
like the safety net is on many levels, because everybody's always like, be careful,
Yeah,
like
that's true. That's true.
And,
Yeah.
and also it's almost like everything is like in relation to Singapore, right? Right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
like two kind of District 10 in Orchard Road, right? So
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, now you're in JB, that's like
Yeah.
Malaysia, JB.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're in Thailand. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. It's
it's
always in relation. Yeah.
so it's almost like hearing you speak. Okay, we got cut, right? It's like you're trying to do something that has no has no it has no kind of like reference. It has no reference to something else. Like I just saw a clip, right? Like a YouTube shot of Rick Rubin, right? And he was being interviewed, and he was explaining to the TV journalists that the viewers or the listeners do not know what they want. And then the guy, the TV journalist was like, what do you mean they do not know what they want? Because they haven't heard it yet. It's like they haven't heard it yet. So the listeners only know what they've heard, right? Stuff that so like, oh, this is hip hop now, this is trap, or everything's like from a reference point.
Yeah.
And in a sense, for us as well, that was kind of what we were searching for. We were kind of wanting to get ourselves out of all the reference points, and just kind of putting ourselves in like somewhere where it's like, yo,
Zero.
they kind of 0 point.
Yeah.
So
it's cool because like I think since coming here, I think you guys are like the 5th Singaporeans I've met in a year and 7 months, which is like
really
nothing.
wow.
Yeah, it's like
Where
Rethink
these
is.
people get you
I don't know.
introduced?
I don't know.
who are the
Like
other people, bro?
there's not many of us.
Yeah.
So like I think like you guys, Ritik, and like 2 other people. Like that's it. Like that's all I've met. And I think it's kind of cool because then your like baselines of what you understand about like life is being reset, because like people are like a reflection of like who they are around, right? And like if you're always surrounding yourself around Singaporeans, you're always going to think like a Singaporean, which is fine. It's just an amazing thing, right? I mean, we have the privilege of understanding what like a beautiful, like quick first world city is like.
Oh yes, that is a whole other conversation. The positives of Singapore, and we can,
of course, but I think it's just like expanding your like mind like beyond that. Like it takes effort when you're surrounded by that all the time. And so like I think you talked about like no reference point as well. Like I think my parents were very, very stressed out. Going back to like the challenges, like my parents were just like stressed out of their mind. It's like when I brought it up to them, I was like, hey, I'm leaving in 6 months to go to Mexico. And like my mom was just like stressed out. My dad like wouldn't, every time I brought up the conversation, he didn't want to talk about it. He just went quiet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, at that point it's like pretty intense, like, but I was very sure that it was something that I needed to do. So like I was very convicted that I needed to do this. But it's very tough because it's like, and my friends as well. My friends have always known me to be a bit more adventurous than them, but this was a bit crazy to them, And I think the worst bit, like I realized this recently. I didn't realize it back then, but I realized this recently that I during that time, like even I doubted myself at times, right? But the issue is that like I couldn't show it. The moment I showed it, like it was like people would be like, "Oh, yeah, you should rethink that plan." Like they start to like sow extra doubt into my thoughts. So like it was tough, and I realized that I couldn't describe it to like people. I couldn't describe my stresses or my worries to people, and that was an area that I didn't get to like express, I think. And I only realized this recently as well.
It's because it's Mexico. Like I mean, if you're choosing the common places to visit, like US or going back to Australia or stuff like like people they're not as afraid because Mexico's more in the unknown, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like again, it's like it's like reference point again, no? Like, yes, of course, obviously, you're a musician. Yeah, Nathaniel, go to LA, do your thing, you know. But
Yeah.
Mexico, you know, like these kind of
Mexico
things.
feels like they don't understand why, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I still get questions now. Like I went back to Singapore in April and like people like they don't understand why I'm here still, even though like they have like they see my stories and Instagram stories and whatever, and I talk about it and like they know that I love it here, but they still don't understand. Like I got some comments when I was back home. My grandfather, firstly, he just wants me to come home. He's like, there's no reason to be there, just come home. So my grandfather's like
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, my parents are fine now, by the way. Like so
Cool.
going back to the parents thing, it's like now a year and 7 months later, after all that like stress of like having to, I guess, keep in my worries about this place. Like my parents have been here now, and my sister has been here as well on separate occasions. And I think
Nice.
I think it's just a beautiful like full circle thing. It's like you realize sometimes if you take the effort to make steps, like it affects other people. And now they're gonna see like Mexico in a very different light as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that? I mean, if you don't mind, if it's not too personal, like
of course,
the kind of change that you've in a sense influenced in your family and those around you.
I think the idea of Mexico has changed in terms of like in my social circle, you know, like before I came, like I only knew like one Singaporean who like in all my social circles, like only one couple who's been here on a holiday and they loved it. And other than that, I have no other like reference point of like what it's going to be like. And I think it was the same for like people around me as well. And then only when coming here and like experiencing it for myself and like sharing it with them and like talking to them about it, and then somehow managed to convince one of my best friends to come here. So he came because he wanted to visit his grandma who lives in like Seattle, I think. And so like he decided to come here to stop over for like a week as well. And so like I brought him around and like he was in love with the place as well. My parents came here and they really liked it as well. And they were like, oh, maybe we should invest in property and think about Airbnb in Mexico and stuff. Like I was like, this is like a year ago, 2 years ago, like you would not even consider this, you know, like so I think it's like sometimes it's like the analogy is like you're opening the door for other people to walk through. But sometimes you don't know what is going to be behind that door, and like you just do it anyway. And when there's good stuff on the end of the door, and then you usher people through, and it's a good like I guess image of like being that first person, I guess, of being that first person to step through the door. Yeah. So
I was thinking that like since your parents opened their minds and came to Mexico, that you know like their fearful mentality which builds up in Singapore like reduced, you know, like they tried new things and then they liked it, they opened their minds.
Yeah, it's fabulous because like I'm not like a morning person. So like when they were here, they love to wake up at like 8 a.m. or like 7 a.m. I think that's crazy to me, but like I wake up at like 10 a.m. And like I remember they wake up and they'd be like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to like wake up, we will just go and explore ourselves. And I was like, bro, like I never like think that my parents would dare to do that in Mexico, you know. And I mean even like when I was here for like the first month, like I was very cautious. I'll go to the places that I knew, but they were like, oh no, it's okay, we're gonna like explore this new like area and everything. I thought it was like brilliant, like, you know, to see them like that. Yeah.
But you know, like one thing about Singaporeans, right, is like, you know, when you see people approaching you like in Singapore, then like, or like trying to sell you tissue or something, you're like, no, and in like kind of a rude way, like some people, right? Here's all the time, like people are coming up and asking for cigarettes or money or don't know what. And because when my uncle came, like I was telling him, don't need to be rude to these people. If you want, just give them a few coins. If you don't want, just walk off. And then he was still rude, and he was like,
be protective. I mean, because you don't need that here. Like to a certain extent, you know.
Yeah, I think I like in Singapore, I realized that we're very I wouldn't say good at saying no, but we're very like because like people are like approaching us as well on like the streets and the MRTs and stuff. I think I don't know. We've just grown accustomed to like being very thick-skinned about it and just saying no in a very like brash way, like very abrasive way maybe. But like it was. I realized
the
that
country is so small and there is so many people. So we have to kind of we've developed this kind of rudeness, you know.
No. Whereas here it's like they don't even like say no. They just say gracias, right? They don't even say no gracias.
Oh, you got that? Okay.
Yeah, and so like it's kind of like they're afraid to like be very upfront about it. But it's like it's kind of cool like to see the differences in that. Yeah.
And do you enjoy like greeting every single person like buenas tardes, like
quite
looking
like
people in the eye, you know?
Yeah, quite like it. My favorite one is provecho. When I first learned that, like
provecho, I like provecho. So
provecho is the bomb because it's like it's like exactly. It's
like
enjoy your food.
You know, like enjoy your food and like Singapore.
Enjoy your food.
You know, you can say anything to anybody when they're eating, and I think in like different parts of the world, I think they have like a different saying. Like I think France they have one as well. Right? I can't remember what it is, but like they have like all these, like Singapore doesn't have that, like, and we're a bit like you're right in saying that because we're such a dense population and we've grown used to like crowds and people, we've learned to like ignore them, which is very ironic in a sense, but it's also interesting.
And I mean, not to get too heavy into that topic as well, but more than ignore them, I also feel like coming from that dense population and stuff, we kind of have learned the art of kind of pretending, in Singapore, pretending of like, I don't see you. The kind of thing. And over here, you're kind of forced, you're kind of forced to break that barrier. So that was very refreshing for us when we first came here. Like,
because I think like a lot of social awkwardness, like, was healed, just like being here, being present, talking to every single person. Like when you're at a party, you greet everybody, you give them a hug or a kiss, and it's like you are forced to be present and just address people and don't feel this crazy separation that sometimes builds up, like Singapore,
I mean, like with my friends in Singapore, like with like females, for example, my female friends, like I've never hugged them in my entire life. You know what I mean? Like we've been friends for like 10 years or whatever. Maybe it's just my friend circle, but like we don't really hug unless I haven't seen them in like long periods of time, Whereas here it's like you hug both your friends and random like people that you just met as part of like culture. And I think it's like, it's good. Like, I think it like kind of makes it feel like you're more involved in what's happening and like, And I think it translates into the way that like you can very easily meet people here as well, because everybody's like willing to talk and like they're very open in social settings to like create conversations and like learn more about one another. So I think it's kind of cool. Like,
like the culture here definitely is like you don't need to already been introduced to the person or know the person. Like I mean, you could be on the street and just looking confused. Somebody will come and ask you like, where do you want to go? What are you, like they don't have any problems like talking.
Talking to people.
Whereas in Singapore, like I have friends who have phobia, like we should find a word for this phobia, but like of like people approaching them, they're like no like they're so scared of people approaching them.
It's true. It's something that like like when I was in Singapore and my social circles, we don't really like do. I mean, I think in Singapore as well, it's like you don't, if you're not in a social setting where you are forced to make friends, like university or like whatever, it's like, other than if you're a working adult, like you won't make like new friends, like unless you go to like certain social settings or you're in a social network or whatever. But if not, you're just like, because approaching people on the street or in a bar or whatever, it's kind of strange, like in Singapore, So it's very different from here, I think.
It's definitely a cultural thing, and sometimes it, like in a sense, you can. I mean, okay, like for example, if you look at the newspapers here, right? Like if you go into an Oxxo or 7-Eleven, you look at newspapers, you see how crazy it is, right? Over here, right? You see how on the front page you have basically a dude with his head blown off, literally blood and everything here, and then right beside it you see like a really like a Cornish kind of a female, like really scantily dressed, and then that tripped me out. I was like, what the hell? You'll never see this in like Straits Times in Singapore, right? And then I just decided to go and like kind of like check it out a bit, like what's going on, right? And then you realize that actually it's kind of like okay, I don't know how to phrase this, but like in Singapore, on cultures like Singapore, they wouldn't allow that kind of stuff because it's too crass.
It's very
right?
sensational, yeah.
Yeah, too sensational, right?
Yeah.
But stuff like that would it's almost normal here in Mexico. Like, like obviously it sells the newspapers, but I think it kind of gives a kind of an indication also, like about the people and about the culture. Singapore is very, very tied into the English, the UK kind of culture as well, right? Like where they don't really want to show emotion.
Yeah.
It's like arm gets chopped off, and then it's like, oh, my arm seems to be chopped off. Like they don't want to show the emotion and that kind of thing. But over here it's like, like, hey, ¿qué pasó? The emotion is like really right in front, and so it's like this whole difference in cultural norms is like is really refreshing, for travelers and
it is,
right. I mean, for yourself, I mean, you're an artist. I mean, you might not consider yourself an artist. Most artists don't, but hearing you speak, yes. And music is that something that is your main thing? Like everything you do is kind of for the music in a way, or is there something else like?
I think it's one of the things. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I always tell myself there's three things in life that I love a lot, and it's food, / cooking. I love to cook as well. It's music, and I love football. Like anything to do with that, and so I think like music I'd say is one of the pillars of like death,
who you are.
Who I am as a person as well. I've also realized that my music taste is very different compared to like in like being able to relate to like people here. It's like music genres and everything is a bit like harder to relate. Whereas in Singapore and all that, like people are a bit more like they like to like kind of listen to like folk maybe a bit more. Here I feel like because it's like I've never heard of reggaeton in my entire life until I got here. Like never heard of the genre.
Right, okay.
Yeah, never.
Okay.
I don't know why my friends never spoke about it when we were in Australia as well. So never heard about it till I got here.
Wow.
No,
okay.
Yeah, they probably listened to it, but like it's just like and so
right.
You never come across it.
Yeah, we never came across it. Like cumbia as well, never heard that in my life. Until I got.
You like cumbia?
It's okay. I prefer. Yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't. I don't think I have enough like experience like listening to it as well. I do like Nathanael though. Nathanael's a vibe. Like Banda Nathanael.
Interesting.
Kind of, like it's very interesting because they use a lot of like horns a bit more. So maybe it's my thing because there's a bit more like acoustic instrumentation rather than electronic and ones. But it's really cool as well to like see that like it's just art has taken a totally different form here from what I knew and grew up with, and I never heard of Bad Bunny in my life as well, like never heard of Selena, like all these famous guys that
I mean you're also very young, so
it's true. That's true. Yeah.
What year were you born? Okay, I don't know. What year were you born?
97. Yeah.
Okay. But what we have noticed, right? Actually, like if you look at the music here, it feels very compartmentalized, right? Reggaeton, cumbia, stuffs like that. But when we play shows, the kind of feedback that we get, right? The people here in Mexico, they are really well versed about music.
Yeah.
You get people who really know what they know. Like it's almost like Mexicans have this kind of like
artistic spirit. I feel
artistic spirit. Yeah, it's like if you If
I
you,
mean, to be fair, also I think the friends, our community, like a lot of them are artists. So yeah, like who are you hanging out with?
That's
Like,
funny. Like I don't have. I was just thinking this as well. Like earlier this year, and like 2 months ago or something, that I don't have as many music friends as I did in Australia. Because I went to a music school in Australia as well, so everybody was kind of like music oriented.
okay.
But here it's like I've probably only met like a handful of them, and so like yeah, maybe that's what's lacking as well in terms of like understanding the like
the
how they
scene.
see music, yeah, how they see music and how what kind of music they grew up with, and understanding that to that degree as well.
Well,
Yeah, so maybe that's a factor as well. Yeah,
well, now you know us, so
Yeah,
we are going to bring you
yeah,
around.
yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
here, bro.
Well, yeah, but anyway, let's go back a bit to the talk on COVID, the period of COVID itself, and like hear some of your reflections, because like that was actually the main theme of this episode. So I definitely wanted to hear your thoughts about it. Yeah,
Um, I think
being here during COVID. Yeah.
I think one of the good things is that, um, well, two things. One is like it was the tail end of COVID, I think, when I came. So like I heard it was pretty bad before I came, like in terms of like people being very cautious and people being very scared, I think,
Yes,
of
man.
what's going on. Yeah,
Double
and
face mask and everything. Yeah, really.
double face mask. Jeez.
Yeah, no, especially the older folks, you know,
Yeah, the
like
older
they're
folks,
still,
Yeah.
yeah. So
and
I
and I
don't blame
still
them.
and I
Yeah.
still see people wearing masks today. I think it's maybe because of the air quality or something, but like I still see people like very rarely, but like one or two like older folk would be wearing a mask. And like yeah, that was one like interesting thing, I think. The other thing was when I mean, because I came from Singapore and like it immediately came from Singapore, the difference was so stark that I didn't feel like it was COVID here, even though like there were like little signs of it, you know? Because it's like in Singapore, everybody was wearing a mask, and like I think there were certain rules and regulations where you had to like scan in at certain places when you went into shopping malls or whatever. But like here,
Right.
it's just like, oh, you don't have to wear a mask. Like it's all optional unless you enter a pharmacy or like or like a supermarket or like something. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
it didn't feel so bad. Like I didn't think about it. Like it was so like at the back of my mind because like I was here as a like it was new. The everything was new, and like it was also so starkly different from where I just came from. That like it felt like COVID was over here. Yeah, and yeah, it was just kind of very surreal to me at the moment as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I describe Mexico. Mexico in general, surreal.
That's what
It is,
Dali. I mean Dali, Salvador Dali. That's what he said about Mexico, right? He said he can't live here because
It's more surreal than he is.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Like yeah, it's
Yeah.
like what was it?
So we are down to the last 5 minutes. I wanna like just dig in a bit, like so like what encounters have you had with like the local people here?
It's really interesting. I think I have some like really interesting like interactions that like made me think that even though this is a city, it still has, I mean, in Singapore we'll call it kampong vibes. It's just like there's a lot of like for instance, like I remember last year I went to like this taco stand on the street, and I told like I think we were eating, and then we were like, oh wait, we don't have any money, like physical cash. I mean, we've got a card, but like it doesn't work in a taco stand. And we told the guy, and he was like, oh, it's fine. Like, just go to the 7-Eleven and buy me something, and then we'll trade. And it was just like this is like
Yeah.
this is the most like kampong thing I've ever heard in my life, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's like crazy, like my grandfather's time
man.
kind of vibe. I love that. Like it's just crazy
Yeah.
to me. And also
For
I
real.
remember another one was similar kind of thing. I was eating at this like little corner shop right next to my old place, and I remember I tried to use the card, like tried to use my card as well, and they were like, oh, like there's no internet now, like it doesn't work right now or something. And I was like, oh, that's fine. And I was like, so what can we do? And they're like, oh, why don't you just come back? You come here quite often. We see you and we know you. The next time you come, you just pay for that as well. I was like, this is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Like, this is very like, so it definitely has that like kampong spirit in like everything. Like you can see that in like locals, and like if you close your eyes to like all the like expats like us like coming in and all that, then you see that like the heart of like the local Mexican people. It's kind of cool, man. Like I do enjoy that a lot. Like it's rare in big cities, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
Yes, it
Mexico
is rare.
City does gives that, like, you feel like you're in a city, an urban feel and all that, and then at the same time you get the kampong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like Xochimilco has like that as well. Like Xochimilco
yeah.
feels like a proper like kampong place as well. So it's just like yeah.
Have you been
And
to?
so like during COVID time, like so last year it was still quarantine, right? Like oh, not too bad, no? Like you can go
No.
anywhere.
When I was here?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it
there
was
was no
still,
quarantine.
everything
Yeah.
was open, or
Yeah, last year, I think.
Everything was open except for like having to wear a mask in like an Uber. Sometimes like the
that seems
drivers would
pretty
be
much the
quite.
normal already, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
so that
much,
was so that was the like beautiful like stark difference from Singapore. That was like it blew my mind when I first came here. I was like, this is the first place to like not care.
Well,
Okay, we're reaching that moment where we're gonna ask you for some, ending words, like closing statements. But before that, have you been to, like, real quick? Have you been to Oaxaca City and
I have
Puerto
not.
Escondido and the beach? And oh man,
I have not.
yo,
Yeah. I know. I heard that place is
oh my God, it's
beautiful.
mind blowing. Like if you drive down all the way, like
if you do the drive,
scenery is mind blowing.
it's
Like
just so.
Yeah, I heard it's beautiful. I've got
Yeah.
friends who are from there as well, and they say like it's tough to beat food wise as well. It's incredible.
And-
The food and the beach, man.
if you're talking kampong vibes, right? If you're in Oaxaca City, it's full. Like when I was there, I was like, yeah, this is the kampong vibe, because it's like everything feels like you can kind of like visualize the layout of everything. It feels like it's in the square. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So why don't you leave us with some words, man? Like
1 minute. Yeah.
like
we
hearing
have
you
1 minute
speak.
left.
Yes, I mean, okay, like for people who want to probably follow your footsteps, or to just kind of like get out of their bubble and kind of connect with their adventurous spirit, artistic spirit. What would you say?
I think like I one of my favorite football coaches in the world, his name is Pep Guardiola, and he once said like he was talking to his team. There was this video, and he said that like this moment that we're having right now, you'll never get it again in your life. You can try to replicate it as much as you want, but you will never get this moment. And so it's like, I think for people who are thinking about moving to certain places, I think especially in an Asian mindset where you're like, I'll do it when I have money and I'm older. Like, I think there are certain safeties that you need to let go in terms of finding adventure, and don't waste that like time that you have right now, I think, to explore. There's no better time than now, I guess.
Really cool. Thank you so much for joining us here on That Front Show. My name is Celestine Angel.
I'm Isa Rakesh.
And we have Nathanael Teo with us. We are here on ADR Networks, activating your senses. Peace.
Thank you to all who joined us here on That Foreign Show. It's been awesome. I'm Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isaac Crouch, and we'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend, y'all.